welcome back to Bleav in Bears. I'm your host of the most, Brandon Trackside, and today, right beside me, I got my forever co-host. Well, I got D Nice in the building from Chicago Sports Podcast, Shy Sports Network, and we also have a very special guest in the building. You guys probably already noticed him, okay? Once you hear him, I know you're going to remember him, and I hope you're sharpening your pencil. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, the former Chicago Bears quarterback and NFL analyst, Mr. Jim Miller. Jim Miller, welcome to the building.
Good to be with you, gentlemen, tonight.
Yeah. Welcome, Tim.
Yeah, welcome.
Good to talk to you, D Nice.
So yeah, man, I want to ask you guys a very interesting question. And D Nice, the good thing about it is none better than Jim Miller to have in our building right now to talk about this. Okay. I want to talk about Caleb Williams in year 3. Okay. This is a very important year for Caleb. What I also believe, Jim, is the 2026 draft and what it means for this Bears franchise. So we need to get into that and how this all works with this make or break year. I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel, man. We love FanDuel. We use them all the time. They are our favorite sponsor. We love these guys, man. Anytime we have an idea of who we think is going to win the game or a player, whatever, every time I think about it, I'm all locked in with FanDuel. I'm telling you right now, download the app. It's awesome, man. It makes it so easy and it's so fun, especially with Chicago sports. You can't go wrong, right? Because we all know a thing or two about Chicago sports. So check it out, download them, tell them that Tracks and the Bleav in Bears sent them, and they'll hook you up, man. So I want to talk to you guys about this year 3 threshold. There's no more excuses for Caleb. He's got his coach, okay, and Ben Johnson, and the guy is amazing offensive coordinator mind, and he has set the table for him, man. You've got receivers, running backs, offensive line. Well, I'm going to ask Jim about that too. So I want to ask you right now, man, let me talk about the threshold this year, Jim. Do you think that this is a make or break year for Caleb Williams and there's no excuses?
Yeah, I think he's got to take a step forward. Typically year 3, normally year 1, you're just trying to figure out your offense. That's what he did at year 1. We know about all the sacks that he took. Then year 2, you've got Ben Johnson. So he's got an idea about offense. Granted, it's a new offense. But by the end of the year, he had the offense down pretty well. Mm-hmm. And he's learning more about defenses at that point. So year 1, learn your offense. Year 2, you're learning more about defenses and how to attack defenses. Mm-hmm. Year 3, which is this year, you put it all together. You know your offense really well. It'll be his second year. He should know how to attack defenses. But other things I expect him to make improvements on, like his completion percentage that everybody was harping on. He should have a higher completion percentage. And I think he will here year 3. But really year 3 is putting it all together, and his career should be starting to take off.
I agree, man. Now, let me ask you this, D Nice. I need to hear it from a fan's perspective, man. Give me that fan temperature check. I want to know, do you feel like the city is behind Caleb, or is their patience wearing thin? Do you feel like because, the playoff game and the total, the total look of the playoffs, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, felt like he came up short, could have done better. Do you feel like the city's still behind him after that?
Absolutely. Bears fans are riding high off Caleb Williams, as we all should. Now, it is understood that he's not a finished product. But listen, it's tremendous buzz about this quarterback in the Chicago Bears streets, for sure.
Okay. When does the league figure you out, Jim? I mean, from your standpoint, where you sit, from a player's perspective, do you feel like year 3 is a year where, like, okay, they've seen enough of my work, now I got to be better?
Yeah, I think it's not so much figuring the quarterback out; it's figuring the offense out. How Ben Johnson calls plays, what he's going to emphasize with Caleb Williams. So, yeah, they're going to get tips. They know in certain downs and distances, the way Ben calls his offense, and maybe there are certain tells that Caleb gives away that maybe you can get a jump on things. So Caleb's got to be wary of that. He understands that teams understand what they're trying to do, what they want to emphasize, how they call games and down and distance, and just be aware of that and not to give it away. Don't get too, I guess, rhythmic or basically where you kind of do the same thing over and over again. Sometimes you got to mix it up, throw off your tendencies a little bit, and I think Caleb will be able to do that because it'll show maturity as a player if he does that.
I mean, do you feel like he's shown enough, though, Jim? You feel like he's shown enough?
I think so. I think year one was a struggle. I do. I think year two, there was significant improvement. I'd say from week 6 on, he improved tremendously. Took care of the football. The sacks went down in a high rate. And so you could tell he was leading the offense and leading the team by the end of the year. And of course, they were winning games because of his play. Obviously the playoff win, the playoff wins, I should say, were phenomenal with how he performed. And certainly the game against the Rams was the sealer. That was just what a great ending for him and what is probably an iconic play. So, but there's room for improvement. His best
Where do you think? Where do you think, Jim? What if you had one thing to pick on for 2026 and says, listen, he needs to stand on this, improve on this. If he does, you'll give him a very good passing grade for 2026.
Yeah, it's going to be his completion percentage. It's 50. He was a little over 55%. I think he finished at 57%. That's got to be way above. That's got to be close to 70. In today's age of football, it's got to be anywhere from 65 to 70%. He's capable of doing it. I think it's more footwork and everything and learning the offense more, but I do think he'll reach that threshold.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of what Jim said. Priority number one is taking care of the football when you're a quarterback, and he's shown evidence that he can do that. So, I mean, from a fan perspective, if you really watch football, there's plenty enough evidence for you to see, if you watch the tape and look at the numbers, that he has improved and that he will constantly, his trajectory is going upward.
Yeah, and I think for me, I want to see him start and finish well. I don't want to see a late start in the fourth quarter. And it's great that we had 7 storybook innings where it went really well. But I mean, not only at Chicago, at Soldier Field, watch parties everywhere. People were on the edge of their chair hoping that yet again we pull it off in the end of the game. There's got to be a change there. For me, I want to see first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, no checkouts during the game. Not, well, we got to get it back and all this and that. I want to see improvement drastically from that level. And I think if he can do that, and you go back to the completions and stuff, with the completions with me, it's knowing when to get rid of the football, at what point, what time, and to who, and not look for the big story play. I feel like a lot of plays are, hero plays. Mm-hmm. And that was a knock on him coming out of college. And I still see that right now. But if he can do the small things and do really well all 4 quarters and not worry, and not have us worrying on the edge of our seats, not just us, but the coaching staff too, all together. That's what I want to see him improve on. If he can do that, then I will say he's taken that next level, that 3rd year leap. So, and he
should. He should, because a lot of it, the first half of the season struggles were just, he's unfamiliar with the new offense and what a coach wants, how a coach is going to call a game. So he was pretty uncomfortable. By the end of the year, I think you did see, 4 quarters of football, and he played consistent ball throughout. So I expect it to be a fast early start, and I do think you'll see a more consistent quarterback throughout a 4-quarter game.
I agree. And you definitely have to be a lot smarter because, and where you just hit the nail on the head. First year with an OC, first year in the system, same with the defenses that are against them. First time they've seen all that. Now they've seen enough of his work. Now they've seen what Ben Johnson is going to do. What is he going to do? Is he going to calibrate? Is he going to level up? Is he going to grow? Or what is he going to show us? So there's a lot left.
He's learned too. I mean, he knows what he's seeing against Detroit. He knows their defense. He knows he's going to get a lot of blitz versus Brian Flores. Granted, Green Bay just got a new DC, but he's going to be familiar with those players and what they can and cannot do. So he's going to have more of a knowledge base with familiarity, especially with in-division opponents. So it should be easier for him.
And I hope that translates to, him getting better for sure. I agree with you. So here's what I want to know, man. We're looking into the draft, okay? Why this matters. I feel like the draft, if done properly, can help Caleb in this make or break year. This is very crucial, very critical for and with the cap space, everything that's going on, the players coming in and out, retirements, whatever. This is a make or break year through this draft. They have to nail this draft. They did good last year, but they got to do great this year. It's all about execution because the money's not there right now. So this draft is very crucial. I like the fact that they've helped themselves to really good draft picks and they didn't spend all their draft picks on trades like I wanted. I wanted to go get a Myles Garrett. Well, guess what? We still got the draft picks because we didn't get Myles Garrett, okay? But it's what we do with those draft picks, okay? We also didn't go get Max Crosby, okay? And potentially, we might not be going out and getting Sexy Dexy. Now, I'm a little disappointed. I really like that guy, and I think that'd be a good person to go get. But, there's the other side of it. There's a team in Tennessee. I really like their defensive tackle. You know that, Jim. But here's the deal. They don't really have much beyond that. And it might be because of how expensive that guy is. I think when you look at today's market and how expensive guys are, you really have to be careful and be a capologist and see what makes sense right now. And while it does make sense to go get a guy like Sexy Dexy and bring him in, he also wants like a $30 million a year pay year. So I think they're expecting a lot from Shamar Turner. They just said so as much. And Austin Booker. If they take a step up, now there's not as much pressure on the defensive line. You still need to do your due diligence and upgrade there. And for me, it's interior. I want to hear from you in a second, Jim and Darius. But 25, 57, 60, 89. There's 4 picks in the top 90. That is some great work, Mr. Poles, to build around Caleb. Now, I will say this. We just had a show where we were talking about, Jim, and I'm sure you'll agree. If you can help yourself to defense, you're helping Caleb with a shorter field. So even though you're not helping him on offense by going and getting a weapon offensively, which I still feel they might do, they might go get a receiver maybe in the mid to later rounds, not early. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like that's what the DJ Moore for a second rounder is going to be used on. I could be wrong. I'm just a fan. I don't know, but I feel like it's going to go somewhere else. And I feel like that there's some guys there that are going to step up and do well. But what I'm saying to you is, like, where do you see them helping out Caleb, and how can they do that within those 4 picks, the 25, the 57, the 60, and the 89, Jim?
Well, I think their best bet is they may draft a tackle because of what's going on with Ozzie Trapillo. Okay. I don't think an offensive tackle will be their first pick. I'm with you. I think it's a defensive-centric draft. I think specifically they do need to draft a big defensive tackle. Now, whether that's Caleb Banks, whether that's the kid out of Ohio State. I love the kid out of Ohio State. I think he's a beast, and I think he'd be a great pick, for the Bears. But I think it's going to be defensive-centric, and they need to come out of, at least with those 2 of those 4 picks, definitely a safety, definitely a defensive tackle, specifically a beefy defensive tackle that can stop the run, and a safety who's got versatility. But I do think they'll sneak in a tackle in one of those 4 picks.
D-Nice, what do you feel like the fan base needs to see come off the board in order for the fans to be happy about this draft? What do you think is, like, are they looking for,
Honestly, I think the fans want Ryan Poles to pick the best player available, whether that be on offense or defense. They want to see a player added that can come in to make an immediate impact on this football team. Okay. Now, we do have questions at the Holy Trinity, or what some call the Holy Trinity. That be defensive end, left tackle, and quarterback. Now, the quarterback position has been secure, as we all know. But it's time, within these first 4 picks, it's time for the Bears to find foundational pieces at the left tackle and the defensive end spot. These have to be addressed, and you got, like you said, 4 picks in the top 90 to get that done.
That's interesting because I Bleav this is the first time that we've worked together that you've brought up that left tackle. It's been more or less you want the first pick to be a safety. Then
no. Like I said, I want, my personal opinion, I'm drafting the safety because I don't think the left tackle that Caleb Proctor, I don't think he's going to be there. Yeah. But if he's there, then it's another conversation. But I do want the Bears to draft a safety, but it is time, because I think regardless if you get him at 25, 57, 60, or 89, you can still find a foundational piece at those positions.
Jim, is that your favorite guy at tackle that would fit the Bears scheme? Is he a zone left tackle blocking type guy? Is that what we would need to fill Ozzie Trapillo's absence?
Yeah, well, one, he's an enormous tackle. All right, that's a big man. He's a lot like Darnell Wright is on the right side. I see him more as a right tackle personally, but he's got good athleticism. Okay. We see teams that are willing to move right tackles to left tackle. Look at what the Lions are doing. They're moving Penei Sewell from right tackle to left tackle because they just lost Taylor Decker. So for Proctor, he's a massive man that does have a lot of athleticism. You go watch his game against, was it Georgia, I think. For a big man, the way he runs down the field, his athleticism says that he can play it. So I think he would have to fall, or the Bears would have to trade up with where they're selecting in the first round to get Proctor out of Alabama.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I want to take a break really quick, and I want to talk about, before we keep going, shout out to our sponsor at FanDuel, the #1 sports book in America. Okay. Here's my FanDuel bet for you guys. Okay. Caleb Williams over on passing yards this season. The Bears are drafting weapons. The scheme is opening up under Dennis Allen. So the defense is going to be more stymie. And he's going to have, I feel like you're going to have more plays instead of these long, fields of 80 yards plus whatever, you're going to have a shorter field with this defense. So the playbook gets bigger. You can do more things with it. So I feel like he's going to increase his yards, as Jim talked about earlier. This is year 2 that's been installed. Look for a jump early. I feel like that we're going to go over on the yards for the season. So that's where my bet idea is for this. And like I said, year 3 for QBs historically, they take a big jump. Okay. Caleb to go over in his passing yards, drop it on FanDuel right now. That's my take. Must be 21. Please gamble responsibly, guys. Now I want to talk about the Bears defense and Dennis Allen's draft needs. Okay. Defense was the offensive offseason priority. And Jim, I want to ask you this first. What do you feel Dennis Allen still needs to do? I know you're actually pretty well, Dennis Allen and what he brings. So I would like to, the folks at home to hear something a little different, maybe something that that we might be missing. What does he need to do this year?
Well, I just know 27th in the league at stopping the run is not good enough. Right. Andrew Billings has left in free agency. He's a big clogger type of guy. Mm-hmm. Grady Jarrett is coming off an injury. Granted, they signed Neville Gallimore and James Lynch, but they haven't been dominant players in the league. They've been rotational players that have played well. I think they need a dominant run stuffer. And to me, that's where I point to McDonald out of Ohio State. I think he could be there with where they're selecting in the first round. This guy's got a high tackle rate. He's got the big girth that you're looking for. I think he had 65 tackles in the Big Ten. For a D tackle, that is a high tackle rate when you're getting 65 tackles. Typically, the bigger guys are only getting like 30 in a year. This guy had 65. So
is he more like a hybrid type defensive tackle, kind of like you would look at like Dexter Lawrence, where he's not only good at stopping the run, but he's also good at rushing after the quarterback?
I don't think pass rush is his strong suit. I think he has the ability to give you some pocket push.
Okay.
He can flash as a pass rusher, but he doesn't have that quick twitch. He's not like that type of guy.
Okay.
He's not a polished guy that's going to get round guys. His job, what he's good at is stopping the run. Is he'll make contact with the O-lineman. This guy can disengage. Not only can he bull rush you and power you to get in the backfield, but he can disengage and make tackles very violently.
Have you seen him draw, double teams, where it took on 2 offensive linemen to stop that push?
Yeah, definitely. I think he definitely can command it. He's a very stout player up front, in my opinion. I think, for stopping the run, he's perfect for first and second down guy. If you do want to leave him in third down, he'll attack the pass. But like I said, he's not going to overwhelm you, but he can do it. But he's a plugger is what he is.
Well, so in your experience, then, would you say that it's safe that, when you have a guy like that, if he can demand a double team, now he frees up either Booker, Sweat, whoever that other, edge that comes in, and help them out? You feel like that is kind of what this Chicago Bears team is needing? Is that why you are looking at him in the first round potentially?
Well, I think he's going to command guys, but I think first and second down, what you're trying to do on first and second down is to get them to third and long.
Right.
And this guy is a very disruptive player at stopping the run on those first and second downs to get your defense to third and long. I think you'd ultimately would sub him out on third downs. You could keep him in there, but ultimately in the grander scheme of what Dennis Allen wants to do, he's a good fit on first and second down to stop the runs.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because in the grander scheme of things, Jim, edge rusher versus safety, what is more important in Dennis Allen's scheme?
I'm always going to take the edge rusher over the safety. Even I think safety is a priority that the Bears have to address, but they've got to get a guy who's a double-digit guy opposite, Sweat. Right now it's been a rotation. You've mentioned Booker. They re-sign Hardy. They bring in and sign Kadarius Street. Mm-hmm. There's nobody that you can say is the guy. The guy they brought in from Indianapolis last year got hurt. So, is he going to be the guy? He got paid like he was going to be the guy, but nobody's emerged. So they got to find that guy is what they got to do.
D-Nice, let me ask you a question, man. From a fan reaction, how do you feel about these defensive moves that Jim just broke down so far? You feel pretty good? You feel confident right now? Or do you feel like all we've really did is just fillers and depth?
I mean, as far as the organization, what they did in the offseason with adding players, I think that's what they did. They did a lot of filling and a lot of depth, especially with the names that were thrown at our feet this offseason. The Myles Garrett and, the man out of Las Vegas. Everybody was excited about those 2 guys coming to Chicago. And then to see the signings that occurred, it left a lot of fans underwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now, but what Jim is saying, he's absolutely correct. A foundational piece at the defensive end spot is very important. But we do have a vacancy at the safety position, as well. And we need 2 safeties out there. We can't go out there with just one. So and Jim is spot on. The trenches have to be addressed. Mm-hmm. It's avoiding that subject can be no more. We have to address the trenches and the foundational piece. I'll repeat this. A foundational piece has to be found. A double-digit sack guy, a guy, that can be talked around throughout the league. Now, Sweat is solid. But we need a guy that can give us at least 12 or 14 sacks a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with by the committee, I do like that. I think it helps out. It keeps the guys fresh. And if somebody goes down, next man up, there's not that big of a drop off, especially since the defensive line is the most subbed position in all of positional group in all of NFL. I also do agree with you, Jim, as far as the question that I asked you about Allen's scheme, which is more important, the edge rusher or safety. I do agree that the edge rusher is more important than the safety. I do feel also that they will address the safety, and I do feel like you can get that safety later on. So, and I'll ask you that before we close. Where would you like to see this draft go with the Chicago Bears? If you were in that room right now and you went 25, 57, 68, 89 without the comp picks, come on, NFL, what are you doing? What would you do? What would you do at this point right now? Where would you like to go? It sounds like you want McDonald for the first pick.
Now, I think either Caleb Banks, the D tackle, or McDonald make all the sense in the world. If those guys aren't there, or the medical is not right on Caleb, I think then you think about Mesidor, the edge rushers, or you think about a safety like Thieneman that could be sitting there. Where the Bears, there's a couple good safeties, obviously, in that first round that could be sitting there in their wheelhouse.
Now, Grayson Holton is a name that's came up for Oklahoma Pro Day. Do you like him? Is that somebody that you'd be comfortable with picking up in 57 or 60? I'm kind of more interested in where you would go at 57, 60, and 89 after you establish that defensive tackle or edge, whatever it may be. I do understand that Zion, the guy that is, the main focal point of our shows mostly, because we feel like he's going to go around 42 to 45, somewhere around there is what they're saying. So he could fall, but you don't really want to jump up 57, because what would that take to go from 57 to 42? Do you know?
Well, I think it shouldn't take much to go that, only a few spots up, in my opinion. It's not going to be a big draft compensation from that standpoint. So I think they'll be able to move around if they target a guy like Johnson, that if that's a guy that they wanted, or if they were to target a safety or even a linebacker. Because I think those first four picks, I think, like I said, I think it's D tackle, I think it's an edge, a safety, or a linebacker.
Yeah.
I think it's a defensive heavy. And then if they're able to get the tackle they want, then they may take a tackle, over the linebacker position, since they re-signed a couple of linebackers. But I do think D tackle, edge, safety, and then maybe the tackle would be the luxury.
Would be 89, right?
Yeah, well, whatever they deem the better player. If one of those tackles fall in the second round, they could select them there if that's how they rate them, higher than their other needs.
Are you confident, if you were back there, in your day, are you confident with what we have right now, or are you saying, hey, coach, do Jim a favor and draft a tackle?
I think they need to draft a tackle. I do. Okay. I think they need to draft a tackle.
Now, you did hear the report about Braxton Jones coming in swole. That's what Ben Johnson said. He's looking really good, so I mean, I don't know. I agree with you. I agree with you for sure.
I think he's serviceable, and Caleb can, he's serviceable where their offense can function.
Yeah.
But I think you want to protect the franchise. I think Caleb, they want to score a lot of points. I think Ben Johnson knows what he wants at left tackle, and Ozzie Trapillo ultimately won that job last year. It was him at left tackle till he got hurt.
Yeah.
So,
and your guy Dan. So where do you think his focus is at right now? Do you think he goes and gets a tackle before a backup center, or where do you feel his striking point is if they said, okay, you're up?
No, I don't think they need a backup center or anything like that. I think it would be really up to him. If they all like a tackle and Dan Rochar gives the green light on it, hey, this is the tackle I'm comfortable with, whether that's in the second round or the third round, because I do think they'll take a D tackle in the first. That's how I see it playing out.
Yeah, I do too. And I tell you what, I really think that it's important to address everything exactly the way that they want to, but also be open for best player available, because I feel like it's really important to look at and try to get the best player available. Now, in closing, Jim, where can people find you right now what I know you're on XApp. Check Jim out on XApp. He does a great job on there. Do you have any final takes? Do you feel like the Bears make the playoffs in 2026?
Yeah, I think they're the division leader. I think everybody's gunning for them. It's going to be how well their defense plays down the stretch. They got a ton of turnovers last year. I don't think they'll mimic that. I think now the offense this year is going to have to carry the defense early until the defense really starts to solidify.
Right. I agree, man. And you know what? I think that if that does happen, that's going to take a whole lot of pressure off Caleb in that offense. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it for sure. So now I will say this, man. Make sure you guys do us a favor. Whenever Jim is not busy, because he is forever busy, we love to have him on the show. He's on Chicago Sports Podcast all the time. He's up at the Wind Creek Casino with us for those amazing watch parties. Jim, you want to tell him really quick what those watch parties are like, brother?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We enjoyed it last year. A lot of Bears fans get us really just to meet a lot of Bears fans that, for away games, they'll come out and instead of, going down to Soldier Field and tailgating, they come to the casino and we get to meet them and have a ton of fun because we all have the common interest in Bears football. And we finally had an exciting year where it was just a ton of fun. Winning's a lot of fun.
Made our job a whole lot easier, right, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do more of that, Chicago, please. So, all right, man. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to Bleav in Bears on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. We're on the Bleav Podcast Network for Bleav in Bears. I'm Trex. That is Jim Miller. And D Nice was with us. So glad you guys could be a part. Bear down, guys.